Good afternoon, everyone. It is nice to be back on air after 3 months. Welcome to the most awaited program here in PMAP, the People Manager on Cam. I'm going to be your host, Lawrence Ko, Head of Learning and People Development of Mondenisan Corporation. And as we go back to our regular programming, our monthly focus for the month of March is all about personal discovery. Today, joining us are two very wonderful guests that will guide us to the path of personal discoveries in their own special ways. So tune in and we invite you to stay with us perhaps until 2 p.m. and be involved by sending out your comments or your questions in the comment section. Now let's get the ball rolling by going to our first segment of the day, and that is musts. Now, must is where the trends and happenings that you simply cannot miss are put on spotlight. And for this particular month, we have the must do vision boarding. We're going to talk about the power of cut and paste. And of course, it's not going to be the cut and paste that we do perhaps on our essays or on our reports, but a whole different cut and paste. And to join us in talking about the power of cut and paste is the founder and CEO of Imaginable Impact. Let us all welcome Nina Terol. The power of cut and paste. Good afternoon, Nina, and welcome to People Manager on Cam.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lawrence, and good afternoon, PMAP. It's really a pleasure. It's a thrill, actually, to be here. And I just want to shout out to my soul sister, JV Wong, for this opportunity. Super excited.
There. That's right. So thank you, JV. No, JV's been very instrumental to inviting you and having you here with us this afternoon. So thank you for your time, Nina. And
Thanks,
as I've
everyone.
mentioned, Nina, no, our theme for today is going to be personal discovery. And people know that you are passionate and an advocate of creating and maintaining personal dream boards. So perhaps we can start by telling us your story on how that came to be.
Yeah, so actually, I've been a lifelong dream boarder or vision boarder. It probably started, I was about 10 or 11 years old. My mom gave me a copy of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm not sure if the Gen Z still know what that is, but
It's a
um,
classic. They should.
very classic. And I was very young, pre-teens, but there was a story about, I think it was Jack Nicklaus. He was a master golfer, and at the time he was talking in his essay or in the story about the power of visualization for his golf game. And my parents were also avid golfers, so I wasn't, but I could somehow relate. And being the nerd that I was, I said, oh, if he can do it for his golf game, maybe I can do it for my grades. So I actually started doing it na at the beginning of the
Mhm.
semester. I would create a fake grade report and say, this is going to be my grade for the semester. Ganun, it started out very simply. And then the nerd that I was used that as motivation. But I'm actually going to share a slide here where it became really pivotal, where it really changed my life. So from just, kiddie dream boards to college, how am I going to envision my life after I graduate, uh, also hearing and seeing Oprah talk about it. And then there was a time The Secret became really popular about the law of
Mhm.
attraction and manifestation. A really powerful period in my life really brought home for me the importance or parang the power of cut and paste. So I'll ask our backstage folks, La Martin. So I'll ask you to
There.
move to the next slide. So Dream Dare Do is the name of a workshop that I conduct, but this was a really pivotal dream board in 2013, and now I realize so that was 10 years ago. I was in the midst of a deeply, deeply, deeply personal crisis, like possibly the darkest time I was ever in throughout my entire adult life. And everything seemed so dark. And this was also a time na I had forgotten to dream board. Parang it was a
Mhm.
habit I used to have. And then, di ba, life happens, you get so busy, you forget certain things and certain practices. And there was one day I was really hyperventilating because of anxiety and depression. And I said, I need to clear my head. I locked the door. I took out my magazines. And it was really a flurry. I was doing it mabilis. And this was the dream board that emerged. And it really struck me that this dream board was so different from the life I was in back then. It was so colorful. You will see here the keywords about passion, the surreal life, inspiration, go where love is. So all of these somehow helped reconnect me to what mattered to me. It was pulling me back na Nina, you have to remember who you are. And it was again a very, very dark time in my life. And this really spurred for me a major personal transformation. And I'll ask Martin to go to the next slide. So, and I'll show you the impact. So, up on the left, and I am in no way body shaming myself or anyone. This was really just, this was me at 33, 10 years ago. So depressed, anxious, and aminin ko na po, that was the midst of a marital breakup. And it's probably the worst personal failure any person can ever go through. So there were many layers. That was me back then. And the image to the right was my self-portrait. So it's a crying girl, like, and then her mouth is somehow like there are symbols, but she can't speak. So it was very symbolic of the darkness I was feeling inside. But you know, that dream board woke me up to, this is who you are, this is how you reconnect back to yourself. And I started to eat better, started to work out. I told myself I'm going to reclaim myself. That whole period was really about self-love. And about a year later, you'll see below, that became my self-portrait a year later when I realized, uy, wait lang, gising, di ba? Wake
Mhm.
up from the darkness you're in. And fast forward to the last two photos that was this year, me at 43 years old. So 10 years later, it's been a 10-year journey. And I can really say that it was that one pivotal dream board that helped me. But I'll share other examples of how you can apply this at work. But for people who know me, and Joy will also attest, I'm an example of how my dream board literally saved my life.
Thank you for sharing that, Nina, no, and seeing na you started from such an early age, no, not really consciously knowing that you've already started dream boarding, no, up to the
Mm-mm.
point wherein you of course you matured, you went through different challenges, and then you've been doing it more consciously now, no. So that really gave us a good picture of the impact of dream boarding, and we have you, no, someone, a CEO, a founder, no, really seeing the successes and the contribution of dream boarding. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think at this point, our viewers would also want to know, no, and perhaps be very excited, like
Mm-mm.
how what would be the specifics, no, like if they are going to be starting dream boarding, no, perhaps they are just starting out in their professional careers, no, or
Yes,
perhaps
yes.
they are more established, no, and are trying to benchmark, trying to understand like what makes
Mm-mm.
for a good dream board, no, so that perhaps, no, they can also follow the same successes that you've had in using this, no, in your life.
Yes, okay. Thank you. That's a really great question. I'll ask for the next slide. I'll use that as a prompt
Mm-hmm.
for some of the ideas I'm going to share. So this was a dream board I made in 2019 when I was discerning about two career options. There were two job offers. I'll talk about the outcome later, but if you look here, a dream board, actually there are no right or wrongs, diba? So your dream board is really yours. It's about your truth, it's about your authenticity, your voice. For me, I'm just very much a fan of, analog. I actually buy old magazines or I still keep old magazines. And maybe the Gen Zs are like, what's a magazine? But actual print magazines, because I love literally the power of cut and paste. So yun, I have
Mm-hmm.
some of my boards here. They're very tactile.
Mm-hmm.
But some people will also do their dream boards digitally, right? There are many tools to go about it. But here are some things you have to remember when you're dream boarding. Dream boarding or vision boarding, it's pretty much like putting together the vision for a house that you want to build, right? It's like the blueprint. Um, let's say you really want to build a house, you also have to determine, is it a bungalow, is it two-story, duplex, etc. What's the style? Mediterranean, Balinese, Philippine. So the dream board is your way to visualize, not just I want to build a house by this
Mm-hmm.
date and by the time I'm like this. It really brings it to life. So number one, the vision board and the dream board, of course, has to be visual. That's why it's called vision.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to be able to do it, you really have to come from a place of quiet and stillness. So I would highly encourage that during the time you're doing your dream board, you really have to block out a good chunk of time. For me, about an hour. I usually reserve about 25 minutes for the cutting, meaning
Mm-hmm.
you're just tearing out pages or you're selecting images online, and that's all you're doing. And then about another 25 minutes for laying it out and, bringing the meaning, putting the meaning together of your dream board. But it's also really important that you start with a very clear intention and you ground yourself. So in all of my dream boarding workshops, I start with a meditation. So the meditation helps center, quiet, also opens up, your inner eye. Like there are things that you will want to surface from your subconscious or your unconscious. So you need to give yourself that space. Um, and then you also have to be clear, what am I dream boarding about? So as I mentioned here, this one was a career board. The board you saw earlier, that was a general board. I
Mm.
actually had another board where I was trying to manifest, the right partner for me. Yung mga, 'di ba, may mga ganun eh. So there can be themes.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes you will manifest your health and wellness. So you have to be clear about intention. You have to block off space. You have to quiet down. But once you start doing it, you have to go with your intuition. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't edit yourself. Just look for everything that strikes you, that resonates with you. Just get all the images, and then you lay out later on, because uh there's also magic in the process of curating. And then later on, may lalabas na meaning yan. The meaning will emerge, and only you will be able to figure out what that meaning is. So just to segue back, no. So this one was a career board that I made in 2019 at the start of the year. I was facing two job offers. One was with a corporation that I really wanted to join, like, and then the offer was good. Money was good, the company was good. I knew people in the company, so I knew, okay, this was going to be a good job. There's another offer, startup technology. It was a new world for me, but it was also a world that I was super excited by. So after this dream board, I was like, uh-oh, parang I'm not gonna go corporate. I don't know, but to me it was like catalyst. I was looking at catalysts, creative. So actually, I went back to the corporation and I asked them, what are my opportunities to do innovation work in this role? And I asked, based on some of these keywords,
Mm-hmm.
I asked them. Unfortunately, it was the technology company that won out. So this board actually helped me decide which path to take. And then I'll just segue to the other board. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask for the next. So it ushered in a period for me of very high octane career growth. It was super fast paced. Next slide, please. And then at a certain point, I got burnt out. So you will see that this board is much gentler. This is the pandemic time at
Mm-hmm.
2021. There were certain things that were surfacing in my professional and personal life, and the pandemic, that I said, up, wait lang. I need to, in the middle, it says, I need to make it right. I might have gone off course. I might have gone too aggressive towards one side. I need to find the balance, not just for me, for the world, and then the bigger goals for, country, community, the world just became clearer. So these are examples of how you can use it in many occasions, and I can
Mm-hmm.
share more tips later
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, that was very in-depth, Nina, no? And I was actually thinking na I had a very shallow understanding and perhaps expectations of a dream board. And when you mentioned that you were able to utilize and use a dream board for decision making, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
now this is something, no? And then when you were able to show us, no, that it even helped you in trying to identify what would be a better career decision or option for you through the use of dream boarding, no? I was
Mm-hmm.
really excited, no, that perhaps, no, this is something that would also fit for perhaps my need, no, or perhaps the needs of my friends, or no, or of my
Mm-hmm.
colleagues that I can share with
Mm-hmm.
them, no. And you really went through the methods of how you do it, no. So I think that's very helpful because people might be thinking, if I'm going to be starting, what would be step one? No? So you're
Mm-hmm.
able that
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that you start with cutting muna, no, you really dedicate with actually meditation, no, really
Mm-hmm.
try to look for what would be the objective of why you are doing, no, the activity, no, the
Yes.
initiative, and then cutting it, and then really setting time to paste it, no. So really a
Mm-mm.
lot of method involved so that you could create, no, a good storyboard. Thank you for sharing that, Nina.
Yes, yes. If I may, I'll
Mhm.
ask for the next slide, and I'll share how we were able to apply this to the corporate world. So maybe next slide naman. So another slide please. So sige, sorry, another one pa. So I'll share with you. Okay. Hindi ata. Okay, another one. Sorry. I moved things around. Ayan, ito. So these
Mhm.
are two examples of a group like dream boarding or how we applied it in the
Oh.
corporate sector. In the upper photo, this was a team I actually used to be part of. And then after I left, a few years later, they said, "Wait, can you come back and facilitate something for us?" Because this was a year starter, and they said we need to be able to paint a very good picture of a team vision that the whole group can rally behind. Because for many of us, the vision statement is a statement on the
Mhm.
wall, it's words. But this became an opportunity for all of them to say, no, this is what we're heading towards, and it became visual. They just wanted to draw more than cut and paste. So they had personal dream boards, but they also wanted to draw, they wanted to be really creative. And this was literally a visual that they said, this is what the visual is, this is what it means for us, and then this is how we're going to execute, in the year ahead. In the second photo, I just recently conducted something where it was ano naman, from the team mission, how do you connect it to your personal mission? So, or your personal vision. So they knew what the team vision was, but the management wanted to connect it more deeply to your personal stake, right? That's
Mhm.
how will this impact your personal life, and therefore how will it deepen commitment to the company. So there are many ways to go about it, and these things can be super revealing. But again, there are many ways to go about it, but very important is the intention,
Mhm.
and then to really set aside time for it, and to be as visual and as creative as possible. Because for many people, this is probably the first or the very few times ever that they'll get to do this, and it became really, really powerful for them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if I'm going to be attending one of your workshops, no, that would be the first time that I'm going to be like creating
Oh
dream
wow.
board.
Okay, okay. Let's make sure that it won't be the first and it won't be the last.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So these photos, like for the upper on the upper half, no, I'm seeing
Mhm.
that it's a group output, no.
Yes,
So
yes.
people are creating like a common dream board, coming from
Mm-mm.
their different understanding, perhaps of the company
Mm-mm.
mission.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-mm. Diba?
Oh,
So many
mhm,
ways. There were some portions before that actually they were cutting and pasting stuff, but this
mhm.
one just showed something that they drew because they wanted to be extra, and they said, "Oh, we want to draw stuff." Okay, go
Yeah.
go lang, and
Mhm,
it's very involved because well, me kasi I'm tactile, I'm kinesthetic, and I'm
mhm,
visual. So a dream board really helps because I'm actually putting it together, and for people who are introverts, they can't really verbalize or articulate.
mhm.
Some of them might be more drawn or motivated by something very visual and colorful.
Yeah, and this really leveled up, like dream board. It did for me, and perhaps
Mm-mm.
also for some of our viewers, no. Given that a good majority of them would come from corporate, no,
Mm-mm.
and
Yes.
it's really an opportunity not only for them to explore, no, and do their
Mm-mm.
personal and individual dream boards, no, but there is also an avenue for them to use it at work, and use
Yes.
it as
Mhm.
something that can bind the group
Mhm.
together, perhaps like a small team or even a
Yes.
department or even a whole
Yes.
organization.
Absolutely. I've done this for couples, for small families, yeah, and for teams. So it can be as individual or as collective as you'd like it to be. I mean, try it at home, right? Imagine the power if you're also able to bring your spouse or your partner, your kids
Mhm.
together for a family dream board. That can also be super powerful.
That's right. I can only imagine. And perhaps I have one question, Nina, no, coming
Mm-hmm.
from what we've been discussing so far. So I'm just interested to hear, no, perhaps from your experience or perhaps from other people that you were able to help using dream boarding, no. I'm just curious, like
Mm-mm.
what happens after a certain person no already achieved what's already in their dream board? Like, do they
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm.
scrap it, no, or do they integrate it to their next dream board? I don't know. Perhaps you can share some anecdotes regarding that.
Yes, yes, no, that's great. So, well, in my personal example, I would have dream boards every year or every 2 years, and the dreams evolve, and
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes there are themes. I know of people na okay, so they do the dream board, and then it doesn't, the timelines vary, but for some
Mm-hmm.
of them, or in a year or two, uy, parang eto na, I'm here already. So one of them actually did what is now a dream book. So
Dream. Wow.
first
Okay.
first dream board, second dream board, and then she was compiling it also to show her journey.
Mm-hmm.
Na, uy, this was me before, and then this is the next one. And then for some, it's some naman they make it thematic. It's
Mm-hmm.
personal, family, career. So
Mm-hmm.
they compile or they focus on another area. So it again, there are no right or wrong answers, and for as long as we're alive, we can continue to dream new dreams. Life stages evolve, right? Sometimes maybe for some, okay, the dream is to find a partner, get married, for example lang. For another, it's, oh, okay, expand the business. And then once the business has expanded, what's next? Maybe it's take some time off to travel. Or some, it's the evolution of the family. So many, many ways, and you can keep on dreaming and dream boarding for as long as you're alive, right?
Ang galing, no? Ang galing. This is very, very enriching, no? And being able to look at dream boarding now, not just like a creative outlet, no? Or a
Mm-hmm.
creative exercise, but also something that could really be productive at the individual level, no? And as what
Mm-hmm.
you've just shown, even at the organizational level, no? There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
possibilities if we are able to just reframe the use of this
Mm-hmm.
particular tool, no? Very, very
Yes,
exciting. Thank you for sharing,
absolutely.
Nina. So I can just assume that you have a very thick book no, of your past dream boards, no, with different themes, no, or different elements in your life.
Yes, I need more walls. I want to hang them, but they're quite big, and then I need more walls. So, but it's really also a document of the journey so far.
Amazing, amazing. Really, really looking forward, no, to join you in one of your workshops, no, so that I'd really be able to see, how other people would do it, no, or be able to get a walkthrough, no, on how
Mm-hmm.
to really start, no, and what would be the next steps, so that I could also come up with a dream board, no, that I will really, no, titignan ko siya every now and then, and I would be inspired
Yes,
to really move forward, no, and achieve, no, the dreams that are in there. And
yes.
we're since we're talking about like these passion of yours, this passion of
Mm-hmm.
yours, Nina, no, and it has no doubt led you to seeing a clear view of the impact that you wanted to do for your
Mm-hmm.
community, no, for the community. And speaking
Mm-hmm.
of impact, no, very ano rin, very timely or coincidental. Can you also share more of the amazing things that you and your team in Imaginable Impact, no, of which you are founder and CEO,
Mm-hmm.
are currently up to, so that we may be able
Yeah.
to follow you, no, or maybe be able to join you in your
Yes.
ventures.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I'll ask for the slides to go back a couple more. Like there's one. Sige, one more. Yan. So this was my dream board last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had just quit a job. I got COVID. I was dream boarding while I was in the 10-day isolation.
Oh,
Literally all by
very
myself. I
productive.
took it like it was a 10-day retreat. That's how I structured it. So this was the dream board, and I said, okay, now that I quit the job, I'm moving forward. What do I really want to do? And some of on the left side of the board is more about me, creativity, etc. And then there are parts where you see women around the world, a life without limits, creative. So there were some keywords that showed me na um parang my passion for women empowerment just wouldn't die. Like I couldn't quiet it down, and it was very clear to me that I have to build something to be able to make diversity, equity, inclusion, women
Mhm,
empowerment a part of my day-to-day life, not just a hobby, not just during Women's Month. And
mhm,
in partnership with the previous dream board, I really said na mukhang this is the time for me to go entrepreneurial again. I'd been an entrepreneur before. I've failed. Therefore, the fear diba?
Mhm.
So everyone would say, just get another job, etc. But I said, no, it's super clear. So fast forward, so that was July. I started ideating a bit more in October. And then on to the next slide, please. So fast forward, imaginable impact is now the company. We're what we call our whisper launch. It's softer than the soft launch. um, Whisper pa lang, diba? But so the company is an inclusion strategy consulting firm, and it's very clear that we're niching on women leadership and inclusion in the workplace. So it's helping companies with their diversity, equity, inclusion strategy and their programs. And then because I'm still very much passionate about startups, another part of it is really helping more women startup founders succeed, connecting them with women investors, just seeing more women break out and succeed in certain spheres where it's still very much male dominated. So yun, medyo doon lumalabas yung palaban streak ko, but no, much
Mhm.
gentler, right? And
Mhm.
very focused and still very corporate. I have to say. And then just in the next slide, I'd like to invite everybody. We're on our pilot. What you will see here is a pilot episode, but we also have a podcast called Girl Make Your Move. You'll see here my co-founder Candice and myself, and we will be releasing season 1 very soon. And your very own JV Wong from PMAP will be there sharing her story. And again, it's really connecting women and conversations and seeing how we can move the needle on women empowerment and diversity, equity, inclusion in many different sectors. So that's how the dream board also helped me crystallize this is what we're going to be doing. And the dream boarding sessions, different kinds of workshops and programs, those are all part of the mix of what we do for companies. So no, but thank you so much for giving me a chance to share more about it. I
Of
will
course,
have to
of
say,
course.
it's very important aside from just dream boarding, and I'll ask you to please move to the next couple of slides, I think. So I know that, sige, next slide. Ay, no, sorry, back na lang. So it's very important. So this quote will really highlight that there are some things in your subconscious that will come out when you dream board, but it's important for it not to stay as just a board.
Mhm.
Kasi this is just a collection of pictures. And I know that you will have Dorothy Nilo as the next speaker. What is also important here is you process what this means. I actually
Mhm.
have a workbook, but I will encourage everyone, if you do get to dream board or do these kinds of activities, you also have to journal and write down what does this dream board mean to you. In my workshops, I tell my participants to create what is called the dream manifesto. So it's putting your dreams to, like, okay, eto. So I have one of Dar's journals. Actually, I have a Belliger planner here. So I took a photo of my dream board and I actually wrote down in a way an essay, or yun nga, a manifesto of what does this board mean? Para it's crystal clear. What do these
Mhm.
images mean? You create the narrative, right? So, yon, very important. Don't stay with just the dreaming. You have to
Mhm.
dare, you have to do, you have to write it down, you have to plan. You really have to execute, diba? And project manage your dreams.
Very very encouraging note, Nina, no, so thank you for sharing all of those. And to think, no, that all of the initiatives that you've been sharing, that you're inviting our viewers, our audience, no, into, are all a result of you having a dream board, no, and it's not just
Yes.
some random, no, initiative or
Mm-hmm.
activity that you've thought of, no. It's really something
Mm-hmm.
that's very personal to you. And I would
Mm-hmm.
assume, no, for your team members, no, for your colleagues, it's also
Mm-hmm.
something that's also personal to them, no, and that you're
Yes.
committed to really pushing through. And as you've mentioned, no, ensuring that those particular dream does not stay on the board,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
they will turn into
Absolutely.
reality, and that of course you may be able to process them in the future. Thank you so much for your time, Nina. And I know
Thank you
that
so
all of
much.
our viewers really appreciated your time, not just your time, actually your story. No, I know that it was very enriching, it was very valuable to hear it directly from you, no, someone who was able to really use dream boarding and come up with results, no, come up with such ventures that you have right now. Thank you for your time, Nina.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can invite you in the future pa. No, I know
Of
that this is
course.
not going to be the first, no, as you've mentioned then earlier. Hopefully hindi ito yung first. Hopefully this is just the first rather.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not the last. Just on the
That's
next
right.
slide, just one last slide. If anyone
Mhm.
wants to get in touch, this is how you can reach me. But yeah, super grateful to you, Lawrence, for the time and for the cuento, about to PMAP for this opportunity. And I really encourage everyone, do it at home, do it at work,
Mhm.
do it to inspire you and to keep you motivated.
Great, great. So please do connect, no, to our watchers, to our audience. Please do connect with Nina. Once again, Nina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
And
much.
this actually ends our first segment for the episode of March, which is musts. We're going to be entering a quick break, and we're going to be having another guest, no, again, still with the theme of personal discovery. See you in a few minutes. We are now back, and you are still with People Manager on Cam. And now, on to our next segment, which is going to be Anticipate This. This is where we talk about the upcoming events, innovation, ideas, and breakthroughs that we need to look forward to. And for this segment, we're going to talk about something that most of us did back in our teenage years. Yet somehow, a lot of people are using this until now, both as a productivity tool and as a form of therapy. So, this afternoon, we're going to talk about journaling and the power of clarity. So, that's why we have with us today the president and managing director of Viviamo Incorporated. Let us all welcome Dar T. Nilo. Good afternoon, Dar, and welcome to People Manager on Cam.
Hi, good afternoon, Lawrence. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for gracing our segment and our show, Dar. Now, our theme for the day, as you know, Dar, is personal discovery. And Dar, we all know that there is such a strong following, no, for BDJ Power Planners. But it would be very interesting to hear your personal journey to the world of journaling.
Okay, so actually, I've been doing journaling and planning for as or a long, long time since high school. But around 17, 18 years ago, I started the
Mhm.
business of BDJ Power Planner under the company of Viviamo. And what people don't know about me or how I started the business, it actually started with a failure. So I had all the opportunities graduating from UP Diliman. I had my pick of jobs, but I didn't have the clarity in terms of what do I really want to do in my life. And then nadala ko sa mga different opportunities. And this is actually why I started the BDJ Power Planner. That's the
Mhm.
first ever planner that we made. It's targeted, the first planner that we made is primarily for women kasi parang doon ako nakarelate. And I felt that if you have self-clarity, you're clear with your goals, what you really want, that it's really aligned with your values, not what other people expect of you or what your parents want or what your family needs, you're able to manifest the life that you want. And with that beginning, with that self clarity, if you're clear with what you want, you're able to translate it on a day to day level. And that will help you be more productive, find your purpose, and just essentially be happier.
That's a great philosophy, no? And thank you for sharing that, Dar. And I can just imagine because I have a lot of friends, no? I have colleagues. I even have like direct reports, no, who are really into the use of the use of planners and journals, no. And of course, I've seen them use BDJ Power Planners, no. So it's
Thank you.
really great to actually have you and to have this conversation, no, with the brains, no, behind that particular product with behind that particular movement. So really great to have you and to hear all those, Dar. And we know that your journaling inspired many more to take on this activity. And some of our viewers, no, might already be at a point where they are keen to also start their own journaling journey. Now, myself included. Kasi ako, I've been buying planners, I've been buying journals, no, but I'm not really able to follow through, no,
Mm-hmm.
with ensuring that I get to write a lot, no? I get to really do it the similar to what you mentioned earlier, no, and what guided you and what made you push through with writing in your journals, no. So would you have any advice for us, no, perhaps on where and how best to start this journey of journaling?
Well, first and foremost, number one talaga before you start journaling, or if you're interested to do journaling, whether as a habit or just as a practice, meaning as a one-time thing, you need to be very clear with your intention. What do you want
Mm-hmm.
to accomplish when you're journaling? Kasi if we're just, I guess the traditional or the belief systems generally in journaling is that parang, di ba, growing up, dear diary, ganyan.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi
That's right.
kukwento mo yung buong araw mo, di ba? So, it's not necessarily like that when you're
Mm-hmm.
journaling. I guess for your personal self-development, you need to be more clear with what you want. Do you want a journal to understand your goals better, to be able to break it down? Do you want a journal for mental health? Do you want a journal to release emotions or a highly parang yun nga emotional event that you want to be able to process better? Do you want to just journal just for the sake of meditation? Also a way for moving meditation. You can also journal as if you just want to be able to plan your day, plan your week, or plan your month. So with anything, with a lot of things in our life, we need to be very clear with your intention. So, and that will actually dictate what techniques or method you can do with journaling. Kasi kung wari, di ba, you say na parang kulang sa follow-through, parang gusto ko
Mm-hmm.
mag-journaling, pero kulang sa follow-through.
Mm-hmm.
But clear ba? What do you want first? Diba? Don't do journaling just to have parang, gusto ko lang mag-journaling kasi gusto ko magkaroon ng journaling habit. For
Mm-hmm.
what? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to be clear. What is that for what? What is that why that you want for journaling? So the most common perception, I guess, on people when they journal is just to decompress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So decompress journaling is one of the methods, but other ways to decompress is to exercise. Other ways to decompress is to drink. Other ways to decompress is to hang out with friends. So marami siyang ways. And then, so, minsan, hindi na ako magjo-journal kasi nag-hangout na ako sa barkada ko.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, nawawalan siya ng, I guess, ng goal. So, to bring it back, ano ba yung, para maging mas committed ka in journaling, you find out why do you want to journal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, why is it important for people to journal? So, I can address that question para ma-figure out niyo yung
Mm-hmm.
intention. People want to journal because they need to create a safe space for themselves. If you notice, diba, Lawrence, in our work, whether in regardless of what category, but as diba, if you're in the corporate world and as an adult, diba, we interact with different people and different people have different personalities. And most of the time, we're required to be politically correct, 'di ba?
That's right.
Socially acceptable, 'di ba? Mga ganyan. And that's normal kasi that's part of us being able to fit in and parang being professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because of all of these things, there's a high tendency to edit ourselves, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you edit yourself yung sinasating social filters, diba? There are people who don't have filters, like, pero wait, we need to be more polite, diba? So, these filters are ingrained with us, especially if you've gone up the corporate ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi sobrang nasanay na tayo with it. And sometimes we don't realize it that we edit ourselves a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when we edit ourselves a lot of times, what happens to our brain? So imagine your brain like a funnel and you edit it. You don't release it because you want to be responsible, you want to be professional, you want to do all of those things. Eventually, your brain will get like a lot of stuck things
Mhm. Mhm.
because you're suppressing certain thoughts, you're suppressing certain emotions. And because of that, um yung likelihood doon, you feel trapped, you
Mhm.
feel stuck, you feel like you cannot express yourself. Pag napuno yun, if
Mhm.
you can imagine. And pag napuno ka
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
hindi mo siya na-manage emotionally, your emotional regulations, you're not able to manage yourself because I know this day or this whole workshop for today is about self-discovery. Sasabog
Mhm.
ka.
That's right.
You
And
lose
that's
control.
a very interesting point, Darno. As in, yeah, I'm pretty sure no all of our viewers are experiencing that. No, they are in different social scenarios, social situations, be it at work, no, or even with your friends. Because it doesn't always automatically apply that if you're with your friends, no, the filtering is gone. No, that you
Correct,
can't be
correct.
100% yourself. So you can just imagine at work you are looking to filter yourself, with your friends you're filtering yourself, and even in social media, even if you
Yes.
try to capture what happened during the day, you're still filtering yourself, no, and being able to have an avenue, a channel, no, such as journaling, definitely would give you again a way for you to decompress, no, and remove that self filtering, no. So that's an interesting point, no. So thank you
Mm.
for sharing that, Dar.
And essentially, parang let's say, 'di ba, when you keep all of these things inside. So when you journal, you create a safe space for yourself. So whether you release like what I shared earlier, parang release certain emotions or thoughts related to a highly emotional event. Like kung
Mm.
something happened at work, it was very, very intense and very stressful. And you can't tell anyone or you can talk about it in some parts, but it's still very filtered, right? Because I'm sure professionally we'll be talking about it with our office mates about what worked and what didn't work. But with yourself, you feel so contained. And when we keep ourselves so contained most of the time, parang yun nga parang it's like a rocket ship na you're suppressing and then eventually sasabog. So one of the ways you can manage in terms of mental health really for this and minimize your burnout is to find a responsible release. And part of the responsible release is creating that safe space for yourself wherein you can just release all your thoughts, good, bad, even if you fill it up with some certain words that you'd rather not speak out loud, right? Pwede mong ilabas kasi kailangan siyang ilabas.
Mhm. And the
And
journal
bakit
will
siya
not judge you.
and the journal will not judge you. Bakit siya kailangan ilabas? Kasi if you keep it inside, aside from the sabog, you might also associate it with yourself.
Mhm.
Meaning, I'm really such an angry person. I'm really such a whatever person that you describe yourself because of all these thoughts. But your thoughts are not necessarily who you are. Your
Mm.
beingness is separate from it. So when you're able to release it in a safe space like your journal, you parang in a way you separate it from your identity.
Mhm.
So, ito yung, let's say, for example, sabog ka, parang for whatever reason, you failed at work, right? Because that happens. Like there are sometimes because maybe you're stressed at home, sobrang tuloy-tuloy, wanting overlap the other. So there's a project na medyo sabog yung performance mo. So what your head will do, you'll start your negative self-talk, right?
Mhm.
Shucks, I'm really not good enough. I should have done better. I'm not worthy of this job, blah, blah, blah. And you really beat yourself up. But if you allow yourself the space to release all of these things, suddenly, parang it's separate from you. Meaning, it was just this incident.
Mhm.
These are just my thoughts. It's not necessarily who I am. So, just being able to separate it visually, then lumabas, ito pala yung naramdaman ko, ito pala yung naiisip ko. Nagkakaroon ka ng self-awareness. And that self-awareness is the key for your mental agility. It's the
Mhm.
key for you to be able to navigate a certain difficult situation.
Very very interesting insights, Darno. I mean, two different items but very related, and it makes for a really compelling case, no, for people siguro like me, no, who are yet to really ensure that that we will be doing journaling in a more serious manner, no, and taking it because there is a reason for us to do this, no. As you've mentioned nga, you have to really understand, no, what is your objective, why you're taking up journaling. No? So from that very first answer or question rather, no, that you asked our viewers, our audience, I'm pretty sure they were able to follow through the scenarios that you've shared. Because I'm pretty sure all of us would feel the same way, would have similar experiences in terms of like possibly failing, no, at work because of
Correct.
a lot of things happening, no, and
Mhm.
being able to put your ideas, no, put your experiences, put them on paper, and it not being you anymore, no. So
Correct, correct.
there's you can be more logical now, no, because it's going to be a third party na, no? The idea, the concept, the experience, the situation are already there, no?
Yes.
So, thank you for that.
Another siguro another case study since I know a lot of the PMAP members are also achievers, 'di ba? Patrick Grove, the founder of um, iFlix. So it's not Netflix, it's iFlix, the one in Asia.
Mm-hmm,
He's an avid journaler. So he's a guy. So part of the misconception, journaling para sa mga babae lang yan.
mm-hmm,
So it was his goal to really build a business, 10 million US dollar or Aussie dollar business
mm-hmm,
in 1 year. So I can do this already. I can build this kind of business, but can I do it? Ito yung value ng business in a year's time. And it started out lang with him journaling because he's an
mm-hmm,
avid fan of journaler. And he's like a perfect case study for when you want to journal with the intention
mm-hmm,
of figuring out your goals or
mm-hmm,
figuring out your whys and your hows. So when we're talking about purpose, napupunta tayo sa why, right?
mm-hmm.
Why do
That's
I
right.
want it? Why is this important to me? What does it mean to me? And sometimes also after the why, we get stuck. Parang you have to shift with the why and the how. Eh.
Mm-hmm,
The how, people will ask them, how can I do this? Okay. But sometimes they get stuck. Sometimes it helps them, sometimes it doesn't. You can go to another question. What else can I
mm-hmm,
do in the realm of possibilities? What are my options and what are the possibilities that I can explore? And remember, when you're journaling, there's no right or wrong answer. Nobody's gonna
mm-hmm.
see your ideas.
That's
'Di ba?
right.
Kasi minsan, nangyayari, ayaw natin sabihin yung mga crazy ideas natin kasi natatakot tayong ma-judge.
Mm-hmm,
So when you journal it out, it goes back. It's your safe space
mm-hmm.
to explore crazy, stupid ideas. 'Di ba? And then magugulat ka na lang, shucks, it's not so stupid after all. It's like such a great idea. Maybe I should try it out, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, parang it's a space, 'di ba?
Mm-hmm,
Na okay, mag-experiment ka, you can make mistakes, and then you test it out. Then you go back again to your journal. Oh, I tried this. What worked in this effort and what didn't work? So it's really just being able to observe yourself in a way
mm-hmm,
like as a from a distance and just seeing in terms of your efforts, in terms of your task, in terms of your plans, what
mm-hmm,
worked and what didn't work, and what can you still tweak,
mm-hmm,
and still going back to your why, to your house, to your what, diba?
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really great, no? And it when you put it in that particular perspective, it makes journaling some kind of a systematic approach or activity, no, wherein
Mm-mm.
people perhaps would just think of journaling as perhaps doodling, no, like putting what they have random thoughts on paper. But when you put it that way, no, parang identifying what worked and what didn't work, no, was very systematic, no, and it's something that
Yes,
could really be of benefit, no, of value to those who
correct.
are looking, no, to explore
Yes,
that particular
correct.
journey.
Exactly what you said. Because writing is a natural organization system. What does that mean? When you write it out, you're using your left brain and right brain, and your brain organizes it into words that comes out on paper. So naturally, ma-organize yung thoughts mo. So I know a lot of times, especially during the pandemic, sobrang
Mhm.
gulong-gulo yung utak natin, and everything is just like parang, 'di ba? There's just so much clutter and noise in our head.
That's right.
And one way to really sort of sort it out is just to be able to write it on paper and just be able to see it again. Kasi human beings were really very visual.
Mhm.
So, if we keep it in our head, parang minsan lumalaki siya. Like fear, diba? Lumalaki.
Mhm.
But if you're able to release it, you're able to name it, you're able to put a label in it, on it, it's parang it becomes a bit more manageable. And as you said, it organizes your thoughts. But another misconception, Lawrence, I just want to share is that sometimes people don't like to journal because they feel like it needs to be perfect. Let's say
Mhm.
perfect grammar, kailangan maganda yung handwriting ko.
Mhm.
So many times, a lot of people, ayoko mag-journal, Dar, because I don't want to see my handwriting. It's so ugly. I can't understand it. That's so again, when you journal, it's not for other people. It's
Mhm.
for yourself. So it doesn't really matter. Even if you can't understand it later on, like I can't understand my own handwriting, it's perfectly fine. You just have, parang again, the intention or the general objective of journaling is just to create that safe space for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I can
yun, parang,
I can actually relate now when you mentioned that, Dar. Kasi for me naman personally, not really a fear, no, but my concern is that what happens if I skip journaling for a day, for 2 days, and then it becomes like 5 days, and it becomes like a week or two. Like, what would happen? No, am I still? I mean, am I still doing it correct? No, if I skip, but it's a self no no, it's a self-limiting belief. No, it stops me from
yes,
even starting. Kasi my
correct.
belief is that if I commit to do it, no, then I should be doing it like on a daily basis. And then if I skip for a day or two, then I'm a failure. No, so why start? Why even start?
Why
No,
start
so
to I start to begin with.
that,
So, parang merong isang quote, uh, a habit worth doing is a habit worth doing badly. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Eh, good habit nga siya, tapos gagawin ko siya badly.
mhm,
It's, for me, I love that quote because parang sometimes, let's say, di ba, what's the number one New Year's resolution is losing weight,
that's
exercise.
right. Mhm,
'Di ba? So parang, shucks, kung gusto ko mag-exercise, parang, since hindi ako makaka 1 hour exercise or 30 minutes exercise as per recommendation, hindi na lang ako mag-exercise at all.
mhm,
But 5 minutes of jumping jacks is better than 0 minutes of exercise.
mhm,
So same thing with the journaling. There's no requirement. There's no um statement that the only way you're journaling is when you're journaling 365 days a year, 30 minutes a day, only in the morning, only at this certain time. There's
mhm,
no prescription. And that's why, Lawrence, I bring you guys back to what's the objective.
mhm,
Because let's say if your objective is just to clear out in your head what happened in the event, you can do it in one time. Then the next time you journal, it's about something else. If you wanna journal to thresh out a certain idea, to play around with it, the part of the recommendations of Patrick Grove is to do it 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours, 2 hours yung maximum for 5 days straight, and then you stop. So there's these guidelines actually, meaning you're not, parang unless you're talking about journaling as a daily meditation, a
mhm,
daily release at the end of the day, it's not really prescribed that you write it every day. if you're doing journaling therapy, and we're talking about highly sensitive emotional stuff, like let's say there's a trauma that we want to explore, we want to be able to process or understand better, it's not even recommended to do it for more than 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're talking about these highly emotional events, what's the objective of therapy? To get you out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to create a rabbit hole that you're stuck in that emotion for a long time. So it's really journaling, as with a lot of things, it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
You use it based on the intention, the objective that you want to achieve or accomplish with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of those, Darno. And of course, very importantly, I would have to note, no, for verbalizing all of our fears and perhaps some of our hesitations, no, to start journaling. So perhaps on a more personal note, I should start perhaps with a small journal so that I don't get intimidated that I have to complete the whole page and that I have to
yes,
fill up every page, no, of all the days in the year. So really, really
an
great to
easy
hear
way
that
to
from
do it, is a gratitude journal. So
you.
gratitude journaling is one of the number one tip of Oprah Winfrey.
Mhm.
So sometimes, Anya, just write 3 things that you're grateful every day. That's journaling already. And it doesn't, again, parang it doesn't have to be full sentence forms. And maybe there are days that you feel there's nothing to be grateful about. And then what you just write, I'm alive. I'm grateful I'm
Mhm.
alive. I'm breathing. So I'm grateful for this breath I have right now. So why is it important to do that gratitude journaling? One of the principles in life is whatever you focus on expands. Notice it when you focus on problems, dumadami yung problema. So, I'm not saying hindi natin
Mhm.
solve yung mga problema. I'm just saying there's a way to approach life, and there's a way to approach challenges, to look at the gratitude, look at the solution. So that's what you focus on. And whatever you focus on, our brain is such a brilliant organ. It will figure its way based on your intention. So, yon, simple, Lawrence, that you can do. And I'm sure if you do it enough, not naman every single day, pero syempre, ibang effect din yun pag every day. Yung
Mhm.
gratitude, just a simple gratitude, like acknowledge 1 to 3 things that you're grateful for.
Mhm.
You'll notice that parang dumadami yung things that you'll be grateful for. Another
Gratitude
prompt lang
journaling.
before gratitude. The other one that I generally like when I share with my, when I do workshop is journal about something magical that happened
Mhm.
in your day.
Something magical. Oh, that's
Magical
really
or
thought-provoking, no?
unexpected. Oo. Magical or like a surprise. Like for
Mhm.
example, um, ano siya, parang kuwari nagki-crave ka for milk tea, then suddenly
Mhm.
someone buys you milk tea. Or you're looking for a good cup of coffee, then suddenly may nagyaya na friend, "Oh, magkape tayo." Yung parang, 'di ba, yung parang ang ano lang, synchronicity.
Mhm.
And it's just little things, but when you notice it, you'll be surprised that parang life is really more magical than what it seems.
Those are very exciting, ano, no, like pro tips that you shared with us, no, and something that would really, I would think, no, kasi ako personally, that really compels me, no, to pick up something, to pick up a journal, and perhaps start to look at those little things, no, that perhaps dumadaan lang siya all throughout the day, and you are not able to look back, no, and be able to really appreciate those small but really powerful and beautiful moments, no. So thank you for connecting those with the journaling, no, and during the last couple of minutes that we've been sharing and we've been discussing there, no, we were able to really identify how do we even get started, no, with journaling, which is of course trying to identify the objective. What's your objective in journaling, now, up until the point wherein we also discussed about removing the constraints of self-filtering, no, through journaling, and even the actual tangible items, no, and things that we can do so that we can jumpstart our journaling journey. So thank you for sharing that, Darno. Perhaps at this point, I know our viewers are very excited to also know no more to also know more about your future events, no, be it under Viviamo or specifically under BDJ. And I know that you have a couple of ventures, and people are really looking forward to perhaps join them or participate, no, or purchase from some of them. So please go ahead and invite them, Dar.
Thank you, Lauren. So our company is Viviamo. It's actually Italian for we live. So the purpose of our company is really to empower people to live life to the fullest. And one of the things that we do is really talking about dreams and using your dreams to empower yourselves. So it starts with journal therapy or journal to self. Kasi yun nga, when you understand yourself better, you're able to bring out your power in the world and can create a lot of difference. This happens at work, this happens in your personal life, and that's what we call dream empowerment. We do certain workshops for companies all about talking about this. I shared earlier yung mental agility. It's
Mhm.
not as simple as writing things down na parang meron kang listahan. Madami actually techniques in journaling. And again, one of the, I guess, intentions that we have for journaling therapy or other workshops that we do is really to empower people with their dreams. You can follow us in the Bella Tribe Facebook group if you're a girl. If you're in the other side, other genders, we also have a group for you. It's called You Got This PH
Okay, I'll
because
join
it
that
starts.
one.
Yeah, kasi yung na-realize namin during the pandemic, a lot of people really know how to plan or didn't know how to journal. And it's not that it's bad, but it really affects mental health.
Mm.
Why? Because when you don't plan, there are two things you tell yourself. Number one, you don't believe in the future.
Mhm.
You're not sure anong mangyayari bukas. Number two, you don't believe you have control over that future. Imagine going around day to day with that kind of belief system versus if you plan, if you journal, "Ay, alam ko may bukas pa eh. Alam ko ano gagawin ko tomorrow."
Mhm.
You have a sense of control over your tomorrow. And having that sense of control does massive things in your mental health, but does massive things in terms of your sense of ownership on your own life. And you figure out how to make life work for you.
Mhm. Great insights. Thank you so much, Dar. Dream empowerment, no? That's a really beautiful word. So once again, perhaps on behalf of PMAP, on behalf of the team behind the People Manager on Cam, our viewers, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Dar. And we look forward, no, to having more collaboration and perhaps more opportunities, no, for us to talk more about these items, no, these initiatives and activities in the future. Thank you so much, Dar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you, PMAP.
Thank you. Thank you. At this point, we are now wrapping up our Anticipate This. We've heard beautiful stories from our two guests this afternoon, Nina Terrell of Imaginable Impact and Dart T. Nilo of Viviamo Incorporated. During our Must segment, we've heard about the power of cut and paste from Nina, where we discussed about dream boards and how it can be used to identify your direction given the complexity and just the general noise of life. And during our Anticipate This segment, we were able to hear about the power of clarity from Dar and talk about journaling and how it helps in processing one's thoughts, constraints, and emotions, among other things that it can do. And that actually concludes this month's episode, and we hope that you've learned a lot from these conversations. To all of our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in with us, and catch us again next time for the latest topics and discussions in the world of people management. Again, I am Lawrence Koch, your host, and this is People Manager on Cam.